In August 2014, Christina Morris went missing, leaving few traces, but nowhere to be found. It was a night out that turned into anguish. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel where we talk about real crimes and real people. With a few twists and turns, this is the disappearance of Christina Morris. Wanna know what happened? Let's get started. Christina Marie Morris was born on July 25th, 1991 in Allen, Texas. She attended Allen High School. Christina was described by several people as outgoing, intelligent, attractive, stubborn, fun, fiery, headstrong, and diligent. She was not easily swayed. According to her acquaintances, she was afraid of the dark and she was claustrophobic. Christina left Plano for Fort Worth, where she moved in with her boyfriend, Hunter Foster. She worked at a dating service. When it came to her boyfriend, Hunter, well, Christina was betting on the wrong horse and investing her time in someone who wasn't worth it. People close to Christina suspected Hunter used or sold drugs. August 29th, 2014, Paulina, Christina's friend from high school, learned Christina was going to be in town for the Labor Day weekend. Paulina lived at Legacy in Plano, Texas. She was an account manager for an insurance company. Because Christina was in town, Paulina gathered a group of friends to go out that night. In that group included Enrique Arochi, who also attended Allen High School. Paulina knew him through mutual friends, but they only started hanging out in the summer of 2014. They all gathered, including Christina, at Paulina's apartment. All of them, except one of Paulina's friends, attended Allen High School. They started drinking at Paulina's, but the plan was to go out to bars. The group parked at Paulina's apartment garage for a limited time, and eventually they moved their cars but parked close to each other. Christina was driving a silver Toyota Celica and Enrique Arochi, the other person of interest in this case, drove a gray Camaro. Initially, things didn't go as planned. Some of them went to a bar called Scruffy Duffy's. Others went to Henry's Tavern. When the bar started to close, some of them went home and others, including Christina, Enrique, and Paulina, they planned to go to Paulina's apartment, but some of them wanted to get food first. So they went to a Whataburger drive-thru and then they returned to Paulina's home and ate the food and talked. Christina was busy and restless. She had been exchanging text messages with her boyfriend, who eventually had stopped responding. As the night progressed, Christina's texts went from asking Hunter to pick her up to he had lost the best thing that had happened to him. In what it seemed a girl desperate to get the boyfriend's attention and also begging for his attention. At the end of it all, she never got a reply. Little did she know, Hunter was up to no good. Christina was crying and upset. Paulina and another friend tried to console her. Christina was supposed to spend the night at Paulina's, but then she decided to go back to Fort Worth. According to Paulina, Christina seemed fine to drive. She didn't seem intoxicated. Another friend tried to convince Christina to stay at the apartment and sober up. He would take her to Fort Worth the next morning, but Christina had made up her mind. She was going back, but she wasn't going to leave alone. Sabrina, one of them, got the impression Enrique Arochi was kind of interested in her during the evening because he always kept hanging around too close. But she wasn't interested. When they returned to Paulina's home, Sabrina wanted to lay down on the couch, but Enrique was there and he wasn't moving at all. Kind of like he wanted her to snuggle to him, allegedly. So Sabrina went to bed, and then Paulina also went to bed. Enrique went to the room and he seemed angry, he seemed upset, and said while he was leaving, Enrique offered to walk Christina to her car, and that was the last time Christina was seen. While Christina was walking to her car with Enrique, a friend called her to make sure she was safe. She told him she was still walking and that she would text him when she reached the car. Christina seemed fine. She didn't seem worried or afraid, and that was the last time anyone talked to Christina. A few minutes later, the same friend texted her, but there was no response. Her friend called her several times and it went to her voicemail. The next day, the same thing. On August 30th, 2014, Christina didn't show up to work. Her coworker called her supervisor. The supervisor tried to call Christina, but it went to voicemail as well. The supervisor tried to contact Christina's boyfriend, but he didn't respond. Of course, he was too busy. So the supervisor checked Christina's Facebook page. There was a message there. One of Christina's friends had written she was worried about Christina and that she should call back. The supervisor talked to Christina's friend, who then contacted Christina's family. Her family contacted her friends and found out Christina left Paulina's house with Enrique Arochi. They phoned him and talked to him. Enrique told Christina's stepmother he and Christina left the apartment together, but when they got to the sidewalk, they went on separate ways, and Christina was actually talking to someone on the phone. Christina's family called the police and reported her missing. A police officer found Christina's car still in the garage, and her father took it home. Authorities and volunteers searched for Christina. The search in the garage her car was parked in didn't have anything suspicious. After testing, they didn't find any evidence of blood or bodily fluids. The only thing police knew was Christina had left Paulina's house with Enrique Arochi, and he was the last person to have talked and seen Christina. He was for sure a person of interest. The police searched for Enrique and Christina's financial records. Christina's last voluntary transactions were on August 30th, early morning, well, when she was still at the bars. Except she had a few payments, but those were automatic ones. On August 30th, Enrique's financial records showed a transaction at an East Bethany Kruger store. They asked for security footage, which showed Enrique cleaning the passenger side with a rag. He then looked at the trunk of the car twice before cleaning it. On September 3rd, 2014, he also cleaned his car on an automatic car wash. The police also searched for video footage from the businesses which were en route. Christina and Enrique had walked the night towards the garage. The footage showed the two of them walking and passing several businesses. The security footage from the parking garage showed Christina and Enrique's car were parked near, facing each other. The video also showed Enrique's car pulling out of its space, but Christina's didn't move. While leaving the garage, the video footage couldn't show if there was anyone in the passenger seat of Enrique's car. And one thing was certain, Enrique lied. He and Christina didn't go on separate ways. And one question, what happened in that garage? And why did he leave and Christina didn't? Police obtained phone records from both Christina and Enrique. Their phones pinged very closely on August 29th and 30th. Regardless of what Enrique said, it seemed more and more suspicious, and many believed he might have had something to do with Christina's disappearance. But there was also someone else who the authorities wanted to investigate, Hunter Foster, Christina's boyfriend. Initially, he was uncooperative. He didn't want authorities to access his cell phone. So, what was he hiding? He eventually gave them his phone after deleting some messages. His phone records showed he had received a phone call from Enrique Arochi on August 30th, and then a text asking for drugs. He gave the police two names of people he said he was with the night Christina disappeared, and then the police ruled him out as a suspect. There's no better alibi than selling drugs to an undercover federal officer on the night Christina disappeared. Hunter Foster was later arrested on federal drug charges. The police then concentrated their attentions on Enrique Arochi, the last person to see and talk to Christina. On September 3rd, 2014, Enrique was interviewed for the first time voluntarily. He told the detective he and Christina had parted ways and that they had parked in different garages. Christina allegedly was talking to someone on the phone as she walked away, and he was talking to his girlfriend on the phone. The detective asked him to see his phone for his phone log. He then said he was actually texting his girlfriend, and then he said the texts deleted themselves automatically. His phone records revealed he had actually talked to his girlfriend hours prior to going out. He had lied to her by telling her he was going to sleep when in fact he went out. During the interview, the detective asked Enrique if they could look at his car, which he said yes. The Camaro was parked. They photographed it. The detective noticed a dent on the fender bender. Another detective noticed the interior of the car had been recently vacuumed. The marks were still visible, especially the front passenger side. They noticed Enrique had injuries. He had bruising on the inside of his forearm, which looked like either a scratch or bite marks. Later that day, Enrique returned for a second interview. He claimed again he and Christina left Paulina's apartment together and then they went on separate ways. He also stated he didn't know where Christina and the other ones had parked, but security footage showed Enrique and Christina and the others arriving at the same parking garage. The detective asked Enrique if Christina had ever been in his car, and he said no. He then gave them the route he followed after leaving Christina, but the thing is, toll records showed he had lied. At the end of the interview, Enrique was confronted with images of the security footage which showed Enrique and Christina walking together into the garage and his car leaving. So he came out with the excuse he was too intoxicated to remember where he parked. Enrique allowed the police to take pictures of him and his car. The pictures show discolorations or bruises above Enrique's right wrist. There were scratches or abrasions on his right forearm and also on the knuckles of his right hand. A minor scrap or scratch on the left arm and an abrasion on a knuckle of his left hand. Regardless of what he said, something happened that night. Photographs of the car showed the dent on the front fender. The next day, September 4th, Enrique was interviewed again. His parents were present, and he had another version of what had happened. He stated he had taken one Adderall earlier that day and that he had smoked marijuana. He allegedly drank a lot and claimed he was intoxicated to remember he and Christina had parked in the same garage. But he remembered in his first version the two went on separate ways and she was talking to someone on the phone and he was talking to his girlfriend, which were all lies. He also stated he didn't remember the state Christina was that night and that he sometimes blacked out when he drank too much. Enrique gave consent to the police to process his car. The car was photographed and the interior of the car was searched and swabbed, but there was no evidence found. The police were authorized to install a device on the car which was a GPS tracker, and the person who was trying to install it wasn't able to do it because the profile of the car was too low. But he noticed the car was exceptionally clean, which was unusual. According to a co-worker, on August 30th, when Enrique came to work late, Enrique looked hungover. He noticed Enrique was limping. There were bruises and scrapes that went up his arm. He also noticed what looked like a bite mark on his forearm. Another co-worker noticed a bruise on his forearm and scratches and cuts on his arm. To justify these injuries, Enrique told them he had had a fight at the shops at Legacy and the person who he was fighting with had bitten him while Enrique, who was a hero, held him in a chokehold. He then told them another excuse. He told them he had injured himself when a tire rim fell on his hand. His girlfriend testified when she saw him on August 30th, she noticed his hand was hurt and he had cuts on his hand and he had injuries to his knuckles. Enrique told her a tire iron fell on his hand. Those who went out with him that night say he didn't have any injuries on him. The police searched his trash. They found an undated post-it with a list of items written in Spanish, black shirt, which he was wearing that night, text from 20th through today's date, bank bills, and cellular bills. And these were all things police usually check when something happens. The police also found cleaning products in the trash. When it came to the dent on the car, a friend of Enrique mentioned initially Enrique told him he and Christina parted ways in the parking garage, but later stated he had blacked out and didn't remember what had happened. Enrique also told him he had dented the car when he hurt his arm. He got mad and punched the car. His friend found it hard to believe, and Enrique also told the police he had punched the car. According to an expert, the damage of the car couldn't have been made by a punch. It was more plausible if it was done by a soft impact against the body, the buttocks, hips, maybe a head. September 26, detectives obtained a warrant to seize the car. Enrique's car was in a Plano restaurant. Enrique and his girlfriend were out that night. They were having dinner. The police seized the car so they could analyze it. When they analyzed the bottom of the car, they found vegetation common throughout north central Texas. They focused on the trunk area. On the driver's side of the trunk, they saw two spots reacting. Of course, they're analyzing the car, they're putting those products to see if there's body fluid, if there's blood, and so they had those products to see if it reacts. So two spots reacted. The mat was removed from the trunk and they swabbed the linen. There were two samples of the areas that reacted, and they were sent to a DNA lab. Preliminary results showed there was no blood in it. Two other areas that reacted with Blue Star were analyzed, and they obtained two profiles. It belonged to Christina Morris. The swabs taken from the trunk's linen were sent to another lab, and they obtained a DNA profile. It also belonged to Christina. December 12, 2014, warrants for Enrique's arrest to search his family home and search his car were executed. Some photos of the car show there was some attempts to modify the appearance of the car. Enrique was charged with aggravated kidnapping. During trial, the defense questioned the legitimacy of the DNA testing, and experts suggested cell phone pings could not be trusted. The defense also stated another person could have done it, a private security contractor who had recently met Christina. But Enrique was found guilty of aggravated kidnapping in 2016. He was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 2046. Enrique appealed his conviction. However, on March 7, 2018, an excavation crew found skeleton remains in a field in the town of Anna. The remains belonged to Christina Morris. Enrique's appeal was denied. Up until now, Enrique hasn't been charged with the murder of Christina Morris, which raises the question, when the time comes for his parole hearing, will he have to show remorse and admit kidnapping Christina? Or will he be able to get out just for good behavior and being a model prisoner because he still asserts he is innocent? If it comes to the part that he has to admit and show remorse for what he had done, then maybe this will open the door to charge him with murder. And if he doesn't do that, maybe he'll stay in prison. Only time will tell. Christina Morris was just 23 years old.